prospects of India being a developed economy, we are greatly blessed with the presence of Dr. Subramanian Swami. On behalf of the SCMS family, I, Angel Alexandria Rodrigues, and Abhiram V. welcome each and every one of you to the lecture series. Let us begin this auspicious occasion by seeking Almighty's blessings. Over to Krishnendu and Marina for the prayer.
सर्वेषां स्वस्तिर्भवतु सर्वेषां शान्तिर्भवतु सर्वेषां पूर्णं भवतु सर्वेषां मङ्गलं भवतु सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामया सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत् सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामया सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत् मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत्.
Thank you. Please be seated. Today, we are here to listen and get inspired by the people who have explored the unexplored and paved the untrodden path of success, to bear witness and share the joy the moment we have with us eminent dignitaries. To accord a warm welcome to the all distinguished guests present here to Dr. Pradeep Thevannoor Commemorative Annual Lecture Series, we invite Dr. Radha Thevannoor, Registrar and Group Director, SCMS Group of Institution, to do the honor. Ma'am, please.
Honorable Chief Guest of the Day, Dr. Subramanian Swami, former MP, Rajya Sabha, and Chairman, Board of Governors, SCMS Group of Educational Institutions, Chairman, Dr. J.P.C. Nair Sir, Vice Chairman, Professor Pramod P. Thevannoor, Dr. Baiju Radhakrishnan, Dr. Indu Nair, Group Directors, other Group Directors, distinguished invitees, principals of sister institutions, heads of departments, members of the faculty, students, ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning and a warm welcome to the third edition of Dr. Pradeep Thevannoor Commemorative Annual Lecture Series. SCMS has been blessed to have Dr. Swami as the chairman of the board. The association that SCMS has been having with Dr. Swami spans more than 3 decades. Many of our old students were lucky to listen to his lectures. Many of us faculty members used to carry books with us to jot down points that we would never get otherwise, because it would be a collation of data and information from various books and instances. Who else can be today's speaker then? On behalf of everybody assembled here and on behalf of the SCMS fraternity, let me take this opportunity to welcome Dr. Subramanian Swami, former MP Rajya Sabha, to this program and also to agree to deliver the commemorative annual lecture series today. Sir, a very warm welcome to you. We have two other dignitaries too, Mr. Sri Iyer, P. Gurus USA, and Advocate Satya Sabarwal, who has also graced this occasion by your eminent presence. A warm welcome to both of you to SEMS Group, to the SEMS campus, and to our commemorative annual lecture series. All the eminent dignitaries who are here with our invitation. It is really great to meet you again and again, and especially we feel privileged to have you also for a talk like this. A very warm welcome to each and every one of you. And dear faculty, students, ladies and gentlemen, let us listen to this wonderful orator and wishing you all a very happy listening. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Affable, disciplinarian, able administrator, man of few words, visionary, Dr. Pradeep P. Thevannoor was the Vice Chairman of SEMS Group of Educational Institutions and an executive member of Self-Financing Engineering College Management Association. He is always remembered for his commitment to work. Dr. Thevannoor's astute leadership, eye for recognizing innovative ideas and encouraging the young minds has brought many laurels to SEMS in the field of research and development.
Dr. Pradeep Thevannoor Commemorative Annual Lecture Series serves as a platform for sharing thoughts and ideas from the best minds and leading thinkers on relevant contemporary themes. The 2023 Annual Lecture Series provides a platform for eminent people to enlighten the young minds, and today we are blessed with the presence of Dr. Subramanian Swamy, former Cabinet Minister, renowned economist, professor, periodical writer, and Chairman Board of Governance of SEMS. To introduce and give more insights on the lecture series and welcome our chief guest, we would like to welcome Baiju Radhakrishnan, Group Director, SEMS Group of Institution. Sir, please.
Respected Dr. Subramanian Swamy, respected Chairman Dr. G.P. Sinayar sir, Vice Chairman Professor Pramod P. Thevannoor, Group Director and Registrar Dr. Radha Thevannoor, Group Director Dr. Indu Nair, distinguished guests, friends, my colleagues, students, a very good morning. We are here today for the third annual lectures in the lecture series in commemoration of Dr. Pradeep P. Thevannoor. Commemoration is to connect the past with the present and the future. Dr. Pradeep P. Thevannoor was Vice Chairman of SEMS Group of Educational Institutions. He was a great visionary and a source of inspiration for all of us at SEMS Group. A man of fertile imagination and untiring energy, Dr. Pradeep had a clear vision to take the SEMS Group to greater heights in quality and excellence. He was instrumental in establishing the first and internationally recognized water institute in the private sector in the country, the SEMS Water Institute, and was the driving force behind the prestigious Indo-German water partnership. Dr. Pradeep P. Thevannoor has left a mark as an outstanding visionary in the field of higher education in our state. Now I invite you to view a brief video on his journey, where he has given more than himself to the purpose, the institution, family, and the society he lived.
Dr. Pradeep P. Thevannoor, educationalist, entrepreneur, leader, and a visionary. He spent his childhood in Kochi, and his travel for learning took him places from Kochi to the United States. An alumni of Kerala University and Oklahoma City University, he had joined SEM's group of institutions in the early stages of its growth as its vice chairman, and guided the destiny of the group, working closely with his mentor, father, Dr. G.P.C. Nair. He had varied, intense interests in engineering, biotechnology, and management. He looked at the people and environment around him to devise the learning programs and was keen on developing research to fill the intellectual gap in problems in the society he lived. As a result, the group came out as pioneers in many socio-centric research and development, which led to the development of NIDA, biofuel, and establishment of the Water Institute. A person who has always strived for quality and excellence in life. A person who believed in getting what he wanted through hardcore professionalism. A man of dreams who accomplished his dreams, who believed that nothing happens unless first dreamed. He had elaborate personal network with the corporate, socio-political, and diplomatic titans and establishments nationally and internationally. This facilitated SCMS becoming the institution with the largest number of academic and research tie-up with German universities and industry among Indian academy. Dr. Pradeep P. Thevannoor, educationalist, entrepreneur, leader, a visionary.
Dr. Pradeep left us on November 17, 2014 for heavenly abode. We have since last 8 years instituted an international level innovation award, Dr. Pradeep P. Thevannoor Innovation Award, what we call the PPTIA, to identify and recognize innovative ideas among college and high school students, wherein more than 3,000 competitors from all over the country and abroad participate annually. Dr. Pradeep P. Thevannoor Commemorative Annual Lecture Series had been launched in the year 2019. The first of the series of the annual lectures was delivered by the Honorable Governor of Kerala, Honorable Mr. Justice Sadashivam, on the 12th of January 2019 on Youth, the Architects of the Future. And the second edition of the lecture series was delivered by Honorable Judge of High Court of Kerala, Mr. Justice Devan Ramachandran, on the rule of law. Today, the third Dr. Pradeep P. Thevannoor Commemorative Annual Lecture in the memory of our beloved Dr. Pradeep is being delivered by Dr. Subramaniam Swamy on prospects of India being a developed economy. We hope all these lectures will stimulate debate and discussion on various socially relevant themes for an effective country building. Now I take the privilege to introduce our distinguished guest today, Dr. Subramaniam Swamy. Dr. Subramaniam Swamy is an Indian politician, economist, and statistician who has been 6 times Member of Parliament. He has been 3 times member of Lok Sabha and 3 times member of Rajya Sabha. He earned a doctorate from Harvard University, where he taught for many years and then returned to India. Before joining politics, he was a professor of mathematical economics at the Indian Institute of Technology, Delhi. Dr. Swami was a member of the Planning Commission of India and was a cabinet minister in the Chandrasekhar government in 1990-91. Between 94 and 96, Dr. Swami was chairman of Commission on Labour Standards and International Trade. He has written on foreign affairs of India, dealing largely with China, Pakistan, and Israel. I wish to proudly mention that Dr. Subramanian Swami is the chairman of the Board of Governors of Pradeep Foundation for Education and Research also. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Light and brightness has always been equated with positivity, and motivation is seen as a harbinger of good. On this auspicious note, we will now have the inauguration of the annual lecture series with lamp lighting ceremony. We invite Dr. Subramanian Swami, Chairman, Board of Governance, and former MP Rajya Sabha, to inaugurate the third annual lecture by lighting the lamp of learning and deliver the address on the topic Prospects of India being a Developed Economy. We request all the dignitaries on the dais to join the lighting ceremony. Thank you, sir and ma'am. Now I invite Dr. Subramanian Swami, Chairman, Board of Governors, former MP, Rajya Sabha, to address the gathering on the topic Prospects of India being a Developed Economy. Over to you, sir.
I'm very thankful to the SAMS, which is, of course, I'm also a part of it in a distant way. And pleasure to see both Hindu and Radha here, whom I've known when they were much younger and in the early stages of their marriage. GPC Nair was a very dynamic person. He began his life in terms of advertising and so on. But he had this deep yearning for education. And when he told me of his plans, I told him it seemed like a very, very, very big task, but there's nothing like trying. And he built from moment to moment. Every time I met him, he had a new idea, a new building, a new department. He traveled all over to get his sanctions. And he spent his entire life in a kind of a dedication which I've very rarely seen in anybody. Pradeep was a personality who was very quiet. Pramod is much more upfront, but Pradeep was generally very silent, but very absorbing and very affectionate. And when he passed away in one of the most cruel way, and that is in a traffic accident, I felt truly sad. Because whenever I came here for whatever programs, he was a gem in terms of supporting me. I held a conference here which has never been held anywhere else in the world. And people told me it can never be held in India. And that was to invite Harvard University, Tsinghua University from China, and SCMS. Three of them come together and hold a conference on India, China, United States triangle. It was attended by ministers, it was attended by people held positions in the army, the PLA head himself came from China. People came even outside these three countries, from Israel, Australia, and it was one of the most remarkable conferences. And both Pradeep and Pramod were great gems along with their wives, supportive in terms of the arrangements. They never came forward for their own publicity, but for the conference. And the delegates were so impressed that such a building could be, such a college or university or whatever, such an educational institution can be built with such modernity. And in this I'm talking about 2008, and it was much newer then. And when they went back, they all wrote about how India was a developing country heading towards development, to become a developed country. And SCMS was that influence. Today, the topic requires to consider how we can make India a developed country. This is not new for India. We were the most developed country in the world for centuries. Till about 1750 AD, we were the leading per capita income country in the world, despite the bleeding that took place after 1192 AD of the country and the looting that began of our treasures by invading marauders. Despite that, India kept declining, but it was so high up that even in 1750 we were number one in the world. India to become once again a developed country is not a difficult task. It's a difficult task for a country which has never been a developed country. But a country which has been developed, and developed not just in terms of producing large amounts of grain. Indians were in mathematics ahead. Calculus, now we are acknowledging slowly, was invented in India by Bhaskaracharya. We had surgery performed in India before anywhere else in the world. Even on aeroplanes, we thought it was mythical when it is said that the Pushpak Viman brought Rama from Sri Lanka back to India, to Ayodhya. That actually there is a very old document called Vimana Shastra. And it describes how to construct a aeroplane. The most important part of any such research is what is the fuel that was used for flying the aeroplane. Building a structure of an aeroplane is not difficult. But was the fuel that was to be used? And according to Vimana Shastra, which is in Sanskrit, mercury was the fuel that was used. I found that incredible. So I went and checked with some scientists in the West that has there been ever an occasion when mercury has been treated as a fuel? And most scientists were surprised I knew about it. They said, we are still at the research stage, but we do look forward to replacing the present oil, petroleum, with mercury sometime in the future. We can't say it may take another 50 years, but it will happen because it's so compact and so small. One drop of mercury produces more energy than barrels and barrels of petrol. So everything about our past, which has been described as mythical, is now slowly being learnt that it wasn't so. Ram Setu is now in much discussion because I have taken it to the Supreme Court. Ram Mandir got constructed. And part of Ramayana was that Rama, when he came to Dhanushkodi, Rameshwaram island it's now called. During the British time it was called Pamban Island or something. But Rameshwar Island, where the Rameshwaram temple is there, ends in Dhanushkodi. And after that, the ocean starts towards till we reach Sri Lanka. And Rama, when he came there, he tried first to persuade the Samudra Raja to part ways so that he could walk across. But Samudra Raja was not ready. And then Rama, of course, his anger, he pulled out his Agni Ban, and then the Samudra Raja got frightened and told him, there are coral rocks on the shores of India, on mainland India, which if you bring and put here, there is a ridge kind of arrangement in the under the water, a little under the water. And if you put these corals on top of it, then you will get a pathway. It's not a bridge, it's a causeway where you can walk across. So the monkeys went and looked for the coral rock. Coral rock is found in only one place, the coastal part, never in the middle of the sea. So they brought it from, the monkeys brought these coral rocks from the coastal part of India, of mainland India, and started putting it on top of the ridge under the water. And they found that the coral rock started floating. So then Hanuman came up with the idea of writing Ram on each one of those rocks, and those all settled. And thus became the bridge, which is now called Ram Setu. The coral is not a rock. It's called coral rock, but it is actually a fusion of skeletons, what you see in terms of these in the river, in the ocean, which come together. All these various underground creatures which merge these things over a period of time. And even today, if you go there to Dhanushkodi and pick up a coral rock, you will find it floats. So it's accurately, whatever is in the Ramayana is accurately reflected. So it was something that happened. Why I'm saying all this is, what a great country it was. People came from all over the world. The Chinese travelers came here to learn Buddhism. They came to South India from Bodhidharma. In fact, went from India to China, and after that, the Chinese started to come to India to learn how we are able to be such a prosperous country, not only for Buddhism, for that. So I would like to tell you today that when we talk today about India becoming a developed country, it is not a very big deal for us. We can become. We have everything going for us by which we can become. Only thing that needs to be done is follow the correct policy. Since independence, we have not followed the correct policy except for a brief 5-year period when Narasimha Rao tried to take it in the right direction, but it was not taken further after he left the seat of prime ministership. The first, as soon as the independence was over, I'm not talking about the British period, which was nothing but loot. The British owes us $71 trillion about the loot in current prices. Kohinoor, which is on the Queen's or the King's whatever headgear he's got, is worth millions and millions. It was stolen from India by a fraud. Those who came from northwest, marauders, in the name of Islam, they looted this place. Gori, Ghazni, so many. So therefore, India lost about 1,000 years. And in this 1,000 years after we became independent, we have not followed the policy to make India great again in the economy because we imitated other countries. Jawaharlal Nehru adopted the Russian planning policy, the Soviet system. The Soviet Union itself today is dissolved. There's no Soviet Union. Now it's only one small part of it, which is called Russia. It is broken into 16 countries. Ukraine was part of Soviet Union, but is now an independent country. Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, so many of these stans that have come up, they've all were part of Soviet Union. But now there's no Soviet Union, so they become independent countries. But when the Soviet Union was there and Stalin was its leader, they adopted a policy of planning, which Jawaharlal Nehru tried to imitate and hopelessly failed. The Soviet model was, that is the Stalin's idea, which was followed, was to extract resources from agriculture and use it for industrialization. Jawaharlal Nehru imitated that. But unfortunately, agriculture was completely emaciated by the British by using land reform, zamindari, not land reform, but land restructuring, zamindari, collecting rents. Huge amount of rents were collected by the zamindars for the British to rule India and to take the money to England. So in all these ways, we found that India was being depleted. And so when we became independent, we should have done what both Mahatma Gandhi and Sardar Patel had said. Give priority to agriculture. Because it has been bled. It was the greatest potential for us. We have a huge amount of arable land. 120 million hectares of land where you can grow crops. Very few countries have that. China is in size 3 times, but most of it is rock and mud and stones and so on. It's only about the same as India. Even though it's 3 times as big as India, its arable land is the same as India, 120 million hectares. The United States is another large country. So in this 120 million hectares, India's weather is such that you can grow 3 times, 3 separate crops, 3 seasons. You can't do it in the United States because snow is there for 5 months of the year. So at the maximum you can grow 1 crop in the 70% that's left. So, in terms of the remaining, which is available for cultivation. Same thing with the Soviet Union, now called Russia, China also. India is the only country where you can grow crops 3 times a year. But we are growing in only 25% of our land more than 1 crop. There is 75% we grow only 1 crop. And in some we grow in 2 crops, but none for 3 crops. That's called unutilized capacity. If you want to grow India, grow it by developing agriculture. But that requires focus, not ad hoc things like some scheme or something that has been bandied about. None of these schemes are what we want. What we need is make the farmer able to grow 3 crops a year and provide them with the wherewithal. Can it be done? Of course it can be done. It used to happen. We have millions of cows, but they give you not more than 200 liters per year. 1 cow in Israel, properly fed and looked after, gives you 11,000 liters per year. 1 cow. So imagine if millions of Indian cows start giving you 11,000 million, then I will come to your function swimming in milk. That much milk will be there in the country. The yield per acre in India is lower than the yield per acre achieved by the All India agricultural institutes. ICAR has done studies in plots which are laboratory oriented, and found that what we produce on the average in India can be, if properly done with pesticides, proper seeds, proper water, proper looking after the insects, finishing of the insects, all these, you will find that India can grow 7 times more per acre than what we are growing today. Milk, as I already told you, if you do what the Israelis have done with their cows, you will get enough milk to supply the whole world with that milk. And the Indian cow milk, which is called Bos indicus, as opposed to Bos some other name, which is you find in Australia and you find it in some parts of Western Europe. Indian cow is a special cow, Bos indicus. And Bos indicus milk is today sold in the supermarket in America at 3 times the price they sell from milk from the American cow because of its nutritive value. That is why we worship the cow, so that nobody will kill it. Its milk is more valuable to our society than its meat. And that's how the concept came of not killing the cow. It had to be made into a religious idea, otherwise people will not have listened. So, India is not short of resources. India is not short of capacity in agriculture. The same thing in industry. We are, of course, demonstrated. Whenever there's an opportunity, we have demonstrated. When this Y2K came up, Indians produced the program. And today, software, we are number one in the world. Western world's electronics or the software or the hardware, all these companies are now being headed by Indians who go from India after an Indian education. We can also be a superpower presently in software we are very far ahead, but hardware we are not. And this hardware is something that we need to do and export abroad. It will be the cheapest in the world. So you have a series of potentials. So in terms of objectives, what we should do is grow at 10% per year in GDP every year. At what percentage are we growing today? During Jawaharlal Nehru's period, we grew at 3.5% per year. It was Narasimha Rao who, for the first time, took it to almost 8%. The government before that was Chandrasekhar, was the Prime Minister, and I was a minister of that. We started the process. As soon as Narasimha Rao came, the first thing he asked me is to join his government. I said, I can't join your government as a minister because you will ask me to change my party. That I can't do. But because I'm not sure who's controlling the Congress party, not you. And those who are controlling, they will get rid of you one day, and they did. So I will help you. And therefore he appointed me as chairman of a WTO organization called Labor Standards and International Trade. And I became his advisor. And Narasimha Rao was the one who dismantled all this socialist nonsense of controls and licenses and all that, nothing but a way of corruption, and brought in market economy. And from 3.5% per year of 40 years of Jawaharlal Nehru and Indira Gandhi, from 1950 to 1990, we had only a 3.5% growth rate or 4% growth rate. When Narasimha Rao gave you 8% growth rate at the end of his term. We could have continued it. Some years we had done 7%, but never less than 6%, much more than the 3.5% of Nehru's period. So therefore, India is capable of growing not at 6% but 10%. You grow at 10% for 10 years, you have become a developed country. Today, in per capita terms, we are very far down. Maybe 140th or 150th in number. But in terms of total GDP, properly evaluated in what is called as the purchasing power parity rate, our GDP is the third largest in the world. The first largest, I'm not sure it is China. Sometimes China claims it, but the recent corona and all these diseases they are having, there seems to be a decline in their economic system. The Americans have certainly pulled up their growth rates since they've solved the corona problem. But let's say the first three, United States in absolute GDP, I'm not talking about per capita, GDP, United States, China, India. India can overtake China in 10 years' time if it grows at 10% per year. And 10% per year technically means a GDP, a rate of investment, that is the total investment divided by the GDP, the rate of investment which is today at 32%, we can grow at, we can make it at 36%. 36% of the GDP should be saved and invested. That would make it, make it possible for us to grow, provided efficiency in the use of resources. We don't waste resources. Then 36% will give you 10% per year. In technical terms, it's said that if 36% of your GDP is invested and the efficiency in the use of capital, called the capital output ratio, is not more than 3.6, which is easy for us. Japan used to have 2%, but 3.6 is easy for us despite all our other inefficiencies. So 36 divided by 3.6 is, you will get 10% growth rate. So the calculation shows that raise the rate of savings and therefore investment, and get more efficient in the use of capital, then you can achieve a 10% growth rate for at least 10 years. Now, what needs to be done? First of all, you must encourage people to save. We are not doing that. Our economic policies, I don't know who's making them, at least I'm not consulted. People are afraid if I'm consulted, then there will be a big demand, I should be made finance minister, and that is something most crooks in India are very afraid of, because I might use the instruments of the finance ministry to put them in jail. I can put them in jail even without being a minister. I've done that in 1 or 2 cases already. There are some more cases to come. But I would say that to make people save, what do you do? First thing I say, abolish income tax. People are shocked. Abolish income tax, where will you get the revenue? Agriculture, there is no income tax. It's been abolished long time ago. In the non-agricultural sector, the people below the minimum line, they don't pay any taxes. The rich have got chartered accountants, they don't pay the taxes proportionate to the money that they are making. It's the middle class who save the most in our country, because they're all the time afraid that what the future will hold. So people are very cautious in the middle class. So the middle class, they are the ones who are suffering today because of the tax rates. So therefore, you remove income tax. Where will the money come from for the budget? Well, if the growth rate goes up, then through indirect taxes you will get more than what you lost in the income tax. That's the kind of dynamic thinking we need. And not in this accountant's method, oh, if this falls, then there will be a deficit. No, make up the money from some other. There are many other ways of making money. So I would urge the first step that should be taken for making India a developed country is abolish income tax fully. And even in the indirect taxes, out of 4,232 items being taxed indirectly, that is sales tax and etc. Now it's all GST business. The first 22 products or commodities give you 94% of the total revenue collected through indirect taxes. So remove all the taxes from the remaining items. Just keep it for 24. And that 24 will mean that the other, where you have removed it, they will have to bring the prices down in the competition that takes place. and you will get 94% of revenue. If the growth rate goes up, automatically you will get revenue even in all the taxes. So use intelligent methods to get revenue, not this bureaucratic method. Oh, you're short of money, so raise one more tax. Every year this budget comes, they will also be raising only taxes. There's no economics in our budget because people who are managing it do not seem to understand economics. The Prime Minister one day said, we will have a $5 trillion GDP in 5 years. That means doubling in 5 years the GDP to $5 trillion. What is it? What was it at that time when he made the announcement? $2.5 trillion was the GDP. So you are in effect doubling it. Doubling it means in 5 years, doubling means 14.8% per year. Is this practical? It's not practical. So let us go by what we can do. I think we should start beginning to accelerate, have a goal and come reach in 1 or 2 years to 10% and then remain for 10% for 10 years. You will become a developed country. You give incentives where necessary. Tell people that if you bring in new innovations, we will write off your taxes for the money you spent for doing this research. Research is the most important input for growth in the world. The United States grew by inventions. Originally, Britain grew by innovations. What was the innovation? They first innovated locomotives. That completely changed the marketing system and England got a boom. The next thing they did was Bessemer steel plant. Steel was produced and that steel completely transformed the construction that could be done and its tensile strength. So this is what Britain did. United States then began in the end of the 19th century in wireless, electric bulbs, like that went on. World War II, they got jet engines, and a little later, fax machines, teleprinters, and finally in the last 2 decades of the 20th century, computers. Now from computers we're going further. We are going to artificial intelligence. And artificial intelligence scholars now say, and it has come in Google, so if you Google artificial intelligence in your computer, you will get what you will not find easy to believe. That the best language to store knowledge for artificial intelligence, best language, is not English, French, or any other language except Sanskrit. Because Sanskrit, according to research, and it is not, no Indian is saying this. This is by the NASA in its journal. They are saying it. So, therefore, learn Sanskrit. The world is beginning to learn Sanskrit. If you go to Google and type St. James School, London, it's one of the most famous schools for children, public schools as they are called, in UK. And what does it say there? That the principal has required, and he has told this in a press release which is reproduced in Google, that in his school, children of the ages of 6 to 11 every morning for half an hour will recite Sanskrit shlokas. This is an all-white English school, elite school, and they have decided that they will make their children recite Sanskrit shlokas. These children recited Sanskrit shlokas recently when Prince, what is this, Charles, the latest Prince Charles, no? Prince Charles was coronated. One of these young children came and sang for him in Sanskrit. Sanskrit is treated as the best language for artificial intelligence. Sanskrit is now regarded, after the St. James School experiment, the best for growth of the brain. Sanskrit is believed by the rest of the world increasingly, but Indians have still not got out of the old British brainwashing that Sanskrit is something of the past. So, I am saying that how do you grow at 10% per year? You find a way by which new ways of doing things. We have got 70% of the world's thorium in the shores of Tamil Nadu and Kerala. And we are not yet converted it into fissile plutonium, uranium. So this is something we should do. We don't have uranium. We take it from the Americans. Or we use plutonium. But uranium, which is the most energy producing item, that can be extracted from thorium. And thorium, we got 90%, 60% of the world's thorium. We are not doing it. We can desalinate seawater, which is now commonplace in Israel, and many Arab countries have been secretly getting these things from Israel. Desalinate seawater, there's no water shortage. Karnataka and Tamil Nadu need not fight for Kaveri. All they have, both of them got, one has got the ocean, the Arabian Sea on their west, and the Tamilians have got Bay of Bengal. You desalinate that water, there will never be a shortage of water. Even if we link all the rivers also, some rivers have huge surplus. Your Kerala rivers are all going into the ocean, the Arabian Sea. Then Godavari, Krishna, they're all going into the Bay of Bengal. It's hardly used. Yes, there is shortage in Tamil Nadu and Kerala, in Karnataka, but you can have a grid system. So there are many, many ways of doing these things. So what I am arguing to you today is we don't need much from abroad. Yes, whatever you want to buy, but then export also. You can export. How did China grow so fast, so quick? They took semi-processed goods from Taiwan, South Korea, Japan, then added value to it. Take the Lenovo computer. The mechanical part of it, or the electronic part of it, is produced in Taiwan. And it comes to China, they put the keyboard, they put the glass and the covering, and then put on it Lenovo, made in China. It's not made in China. So many things that come from China for sale are all, in the basic parts are produced abroad, they're brought in, and by cheap labor, they are able to give a final product and export it to the West, and they make profit, and so do the East Asians whose labor costs have gone up very substantially because they have become developed countries. So these are some of the techniques that we can adopt. We have shortage of nothing. As I told you, for land, we have got 120 million hectares of land, cultivable. We can grow 3 times a year crops. But we are not. Our milk has got medicinal qualities, and we've got millions of cows. They are not fed properly. They are not looked after. The whole idea of supporting our cows is because they produce Bos indicus milk, which is medicinal in value. People would not have accepted, no, we want to eat cow meat also. But then you brought in religion and said this is Gau Mata, so that people won't eat it, and therefore you would get its milk, and that milk is more nutritious than the meat you eat of the cow. So, what does it mean? First is be clear about your objectives. I told you the main objective has to be a 10% growth rate. Then the priorities. And in the priorities, you should see that maximum employment is generated. Choose the technology which generates employment. Don't unnecessarily go for mechanization. You choose those projects where people are employed. For example, building roads. We have now started building some roads thanks to thanks to the present government. Our Gadkari has done a wonderful job in this. But that's not enough. We must have highways, 4-lane, 6-lane, 8-lane highways, so that there's no congestion. And they're easy to build. It's all labor that's required. And if you say, where is the money going to come from? Print notes. Those notes will go to the hands of the workers. The workers will go to the shops and buy their provisions. The shops will become rich and they will expand. They will employ more people. Money by printing is bad only if you don't go for production. If you use it for consumption only, then money means inflation. People don't know economics, so they talk all kinds of rubbish on television. Or when you talk to bureaucrats, you'll find that. So, let me summarize now by saying, India was the most developed country in the world. And due to foreign invasions, it has lost its position. India made, after independence, wrong choices on policies. You see, they used to say, all these people, Kerala people most of all, that there is no unemployment in Soviet Union. There is no inflation in Soviet Union. There is no poverty in Soviet Union. And now there is no Soviet Union also. It's broken up into 50 countries because it was not true. How can you force people to do something they don't want to do? Empower people. Say you want to be an engineer, okay, opening large number of what GPC has done here in SCMS, you should have, every district of India should have a GPC, Nair. So, education is an extremely important thing. It doesn't cost money. And whatever needs to be money to generate is not very much. We had promised in 1956 that our budget will have 6% allocation for education. We are not even putting aside 2% for education in our national and state budgets. So education is extremely important because it tells you new ways of discovering things. Encourage people to do research. Subsidize research institutes. Go to America, you will see, or you go to any European country, you'll see any country which is growing fast. Research institutions are all financed and funded by the government because they produce innovation. Innovation, new ways of doing things. And new ways of doing things You have to promote young people to do research. And so today, if I would just say this, India can become a developed country in 10 years. There's no difficulty. The problem is your inferiority complex. Your problem is your diffidence. Your problem is choosing non-theoretical, non-educational methods to balance your budget. I tell people, why are we having rate of interest running at almost 12%, 13%, after paying bribes up to 15%? Why? Why did you choose this high interest rate for loans taken from banks, and most of them end up in frauds anyway? That's because we are not punishing people who make the mistakes, because they happen to be high official connected people. I'm now in the Supreme Court on a case where we are examining this. But I would say this, that if you lower the rate of interest on borrowing from 12 to 15% that it is today to 6%, large number of people will come and borrow and invest. Nobody wants to borrow and consume. They want to invest. People will invest. Give tax exemptions. House building, all interest rates, reduce them to zero. Remove all these things that these papers that you have to sign to computerization. Housing is an extremely important thing, and it generates employment. So if the rate of interest is low, the loans taken will be large. Growth will produce through the taxation system, indirect taxation system, will produce the revenue. Why you got such high interest rates? You know what the interest rate in the United States is to get a loan from a bank? 2%. It's a rich country, but still they have only 2%. Why are we having 12% to 15%? Because the British made it that way, and we are continuing it. Same thing with, as I pointed out to you about the taxes. So make it possible for people to stand on their own feet, encourage them, build as many educational schools as possible by financing them. And India, given its historic past, will become a developed country in 10 years without difficulty. Narasimha Rao, when he started this, along with Mr. Chandrasekhar, who was he was a very, very brief period, we were there. But all Narasimha Rao did is, what everybody said would be a disaster, is to remove all these quotas and licenses and all. He removed them all. And India started booming. We had only one car in those days called Hindustan. It looked like Hindustan also, in terribly shabby state. But after it was removed, now how many models of cars are here? Because of the vision of Mr. Narasimha Rao. We need that. He went for a short period, but he did raise from 3.5% growth rate to 8% within 5 years. Unfortunately, the public voted him out because of internal party problems. But Narasimha Rao has proved it. He, being a congressman, proved that what Jawaharlal Nehru and Indira Gandhi did was wrong. India can't grow by forcing people to be like machines, as you see in Soviet Union, or you saw in Soviet Union, or you see it today in China. China, the moment the Western countries stop sending semi-processed goods to China, China will crumble. India will overtake China much shorter than in 10 years. And our real competitor is the United States. And because our labor is so cheap, we can defeat the United States and overtake them also. You have to think big if you want to be big. And this is the blueprint by which you can go ahead. I've written a book called Reset, which became a bestseller, put out by Rupa. So if you want some details of numbers and all, you can buy that book and have a look at it. I'm sure your library must be having it. I thought I did send a copy here. And more details and so on, I can only do if I'm in a classroom situation before a blackboard, then I can put it all on the blackboard and you will be able to see it. But today I'm giving you a broad picture. It's a very encouraging picture and you should be that way. India must once again become a developed country. I won't say India, when can India become a developed country? But I will say, when will India once again become a developed country? Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for your words of wisdom.
Before we move on to the closing note, we request Mr. Pradeep Nair, Deputy Director, SCMS Group of Institution, to present the memento to Dr. Subramanian Swamy as a token of our love and appreciation. Sir, please.
Thank you, sir. We have now come to the end of the solemn function. We invite Dr. Indu Nair, Group Director, SCMS Group of Institutions, to propose the vote of thanks. Please, ma'am.
A warm and graceful morning to the respected Honorable Dr. Subramanian Swamy, Professor Pramod P. Thevannoor, Vice Chairman, SCMS Group, Dr. Radha Thevannoor, Dr. Baiju Radhakrishnan, Group Directors of SCMS, respected heads of institutions of SCMS Group, distinguished invitees, guests, members of the electronic and print media, student, ladies and gentlemen. It is an honor and privilege for me to propose a vote of thanks on this occasion. Let me first of all start by giving glory to the Almighty God for making today's occasion of this third Pradeep Thevannoor Commemorative Annual Lecture Series a resounding success. I, on behalf of SCMS Group and the entire fraternity of the institution, would like to profusely thank Honorable Speaker of the Day, Dr. Swamy, for accepting our invitation and making it convenient to come here and grace the occasion by delivering this truly space-stating and very keenly perceptive address, which we have had the privilege of having him as Professor of Econometrics and discussing India, China, and USA on various previous occasions as well, as Radha members already saying this. And we have taken down notes on all these occasions, but today it was different, sir, as we are sure that your profound thoughts and perspectives will inspire the youth and have given this Dr. Pradeep Thevannoor Commemorative third annual lecture an apt completion. As a token of appreciation, Mr. Pratik has already handed over the memento to the sir. We wish to mention a sentence about the memento presented to you, sir. This was crafted by a differently abled person, and it is an organization called Urja. It's a social enterprise which helps these kind of initiatives, and SCMS associates with them. So thank you very much, sir, for your address. I must mention my deepest sense of appreciation to Dr. Jagadish Shetty, who has helped us in getting SCMS team get Dr. Swamy here. Of course, he couldn't make it to the event, but we are honored to have Mr. Sri Iyer and Advocate Satya Sabrawal to accompany Dr. Swamy to the occasion. Thank you so much, sir. We would like to take this opportunity to place on record our hearty thanks to all the heads of institutions and their team of faculty members and students who have gathered here. We thank all the invited guests who have come on our invitation and being part of this August morning. We wish to thank one and all directly or indirectly involved in this program and making it a success. Jai Hind.
Thank you, ma'am. Let's end the proceeding with the singing of national anthem. Please rise for the national anthem.
जनगणमन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उज्जल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तव जय गाथा जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे
Thank you all once again and wish you all a very good day.